Hi, everyone, and thank you for watching the East Village Queer Film Festival presented by Wild Project. You just finished watching our short film program, Navigating Queer Relationships. My name is Sean Leviashvili, and I will be moderating the Q&A with a couple of tonight's filmmakers. I am very happy to be joined by John Bickerstaff, director, writer, and producer of Grounded, and Shin Seung Eun, director and writer of Mother-in-Law. We're also joined by Hoon Choi, who is going to assist us with some of the translating tonight. So first, let's begin by, would everyone just kindly introduce themselves and tell me which project you are affiliated with?
Yeah, John Bickerstaff, I created Grounded.
Excellent.
네, 저는 마더인로 연출을 하게 된 신승윤입니다.
The director of Mother-in-Law, Shin Seung Eun.
Excellent, excellent. Now, the first question I have for both of you is, what inspired you to create these pieces and tell these stories? We can start with John.
Okay. Grounded was kind of an art project that got out of control in that, I didn't know, I had made some short films and I had done some writing and I was getting started out in LA. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do next, but I had a lot of stories from my own experience dating and from other friends' experiences. And I thought, okay, this premise, gives me the opportunity to make several sort of short film, low investment pieces that I started out doing, and then Out TV got involved and Deku got involved, and it became, a season of television.
Excellent, excellent. And what about you, Shin? What inspired you and sort of drew you to this story?
제가 영화 속이랑 되게 비슷한 복층 집에 살았었거든요. 복층 집에 살면서 되게 영화를 찍고 싶어가지고 저의 산에 저희 집과 비슷한 공간 원로케이션 영화 시나리오를 갑자기 생각하게 됐고, 그래서 영화를 되게 한 2년 동안 못 찍고 있다가 너무 찍고 싶은 마음에 저희 산으로 갑자기 복층의 구조에 걸맞는 원로케이션 시나리오가 떠올라서 이렇게 작업하게 됐습니다.
Right, so translation needed, right?
Yes, please.
Some parts you can speak in English, or do I need to do it?
Whatever you both are comfortable, whatever she's comfortable with.
제가 어느 정도 통역해 드리는 게 낫겠어요? 다 아니면 일부만.
일부만, 네.
So she used to live in a house with 2 floors, and she was looking for somewhere very similar to that house. And at the same time, she was looking for something like low budget filmmaking. So she kept looking for somewhere like that, and eventually she found one which is very similar to where she used to live. And she, with lower budget, she thought, okay, let's make it a go. So she started.
Oh, I see. Now, with both of your projects, there was a very interesting role that sound played into it. I would say with Mother-in-Law, there were large beats of silence that told the story. And then with Grounded, there were a lot of sort of stark, jarring sounds that sort of let you know where the characters were at, like mentally and emotionally. So I'm curious, from your own interpretation, were you conscious of your use of sound and how that would play into the storytelling? Let's start with John.
Yeah, I mean, my filmmaking, what you call it, style, is that, I'm trying to replicate or recreate real experiences, or the other, not all my own, but like to really represent the real world. And so, yeah, sound was very intentional in these particular episodes. The first two, certainly, the character has some sensory processing disorders, and stacking that on top of the anxiety of getting to where he needs to go. And then the second episode, reconnecting with his ex-boyfriend, that was all very intentionally designed to explore that experience. And then thematically, the third episode, separating the other speaker, behind the curtain, and we never see them, was intentional also, and sort of an extension of the same theme about how we experience people and the world.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back to that with you, because there was a lot of different layers to these 3 episodes. But, that actually leads me to my next question about you. How long is the series, and why did you choose to showcase these 3 episodes, episodes 5, 6, and 7?
Grounded is 9 episodes total, and they're all about the same length. The series as a whole is really designed as an anthology series. And what happens is that you move from character to character throughout. And so the actor that you see at the beginning meets someone, and then we pick up with them in the next episode. And by the time you get to episode 5, part of the reason I picked these 3 is because they most, in the running time that festivals are able to show, these 3 form the most complete story, with the story of this couple and their 2 ends of that relationship. And also they are, filmically, they are my favorite episodes. That's hard to say, because I love them all. And the last 2 are very good too, but like as one thing to present, these 3 are the presentation episodes.
Absolutely. Shin, some questions for you. I loved how you divided this short film, which is, I think, is it 23 minutes? Something like that.
Yes.
23 minutes. You included certain words that broke it up into chapters. For example, who, kimchi, scholarly student, Sally and Audrey. And I'm curious, like, how did this idea come to you?
처음에는 이제 그 5가지 그 타이틀이 등장해서 영화가 나눠지는데, 처음에 3 타이틀은 그 형숙이 바라보는 민진에 대한 얘기고요. 그 다음에 4번째 타이틀은 형숙과 민진에 대한 이야기고, 5번째 타이틀은 민진이 보는 형숙에 대한, 그 민진이 보는 형숙 시점이거든요. 그래서 민진 시점이어서 그렇게 조금 사람들이 이렇게 점점 더 민진이로 다가갔으면 좋겠다는 생각을 했었고, 그 한 공간 안에서 급박하게 되게 관계가 변하는 그런 그 형숙의 태도가 변하는 거를 보여주기 위해서, 또 지루함을 조금, 원로케이션의 지루함을 덜어내고 싶어서 그것들을 넣어서 표현해 봤습니다.
So to avoid any kind of boredom being located in filmed in the same place, not going anywhere else, she divided that film into 5 different chapters. And the first 3 chapters were the relationship between those characters. First of all, Hyung-suk and Min-jin, so their perspectives, how they perceive each other. And eventually she was thinking that people get to better understand about Min-jin's situation and her perspective. Okay. And then eventually expecting some kind of a dramatic change of how they perceive each other, better understanding. So there was kind of an attitude change especially from Hyung-suk towards Min-jin. So she wanted to put some kind of dynamics, because it was completely filmed in one place in a 2-story house.
Oh, very interesting. So this was a choice that sort of came out of production. Yeah.
시나리오 단계 때부터 떠올랐습니다. 처음부터.
Oh, from the beginning, when she was working on the story, she was looking for the similar house where she could film the whole story. So everything was already in plan from the beginning.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. I loved particularly when it got to the Sally and Audrey chapter, and you can sort of subtly hear that she was singing Moon River, like humming Moon River from Breakfast at Tiffany's.
예.
So the question was?
So, John, I wanted to ask you about the dynamics between these characters. There was something that really stuck out to me because, you know, as a gay man that mostly lives in LA, it felt a little too uncomfortably authentic. It felt a little bit too relatable. You know, all the anxiety about, you know, meeting someone online and meeting up at someone's house and having to deal with the transportation situations. I felt the frenzy that Tyler was in. But something that I felt from both of the characters we see in these 3 episodes is a yearning for intimacy over sex necessarily. And I wanted to ask you, was this something that was intentional for you?
Yeah, I mean, the series started as, you know, like I said, sort of an anthologized, you know, examination of different experiences had while, you know, dating and hooking up. And it started out, you know, it started out being more about, these are funny things that happened while dating. You know, the early episodes were more comedic and more situation driven. And then, you know, as it went on, I realized that what the series was really about are all these incomplete relationships that you end up having. That, you know, my longest relationship was about 5 or 6 months, and in that time, in the time I've been out, I've gone on I've gone on dates. I've spent time with dozens of different guys for just little pieces of time, one night at a time, or one, you know, club night out at a time. And so it became about that incompleteness and not being able to really have, and that's the reason it moves on to other characters, is because there isn't really an end to these stories, and they're all left, you know, wanting something more that their decisions or their circumstances aren't going to allow them to have.
Yeah, I think that comes through really nicely and really clearly. Do you like, is it currently airing on Deku, or?
It's currently available to stream on Deku, with the exception of Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, where it aired on Out TV and is available through their service, which I believe is called Out TV Go.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that shortly. I want to ask, from a production standpoint, for both of you, how did you end up either funding these films or, you know, finding your crews, picking your locations? What was the production process like, and what was the biggest challenge you faced on sort of a practical or technical level?
Shin, why don't you go ahead, since I just had them.
Shin, we can start with you.
네, 통역을
오케이, 알겠습니다. 네, 제작자의 관점에서 보실 때 전체 그 제작 단계 흐름을 볼 때 처음에 작업에서부터 크루 조직하시고 제작해 나가는 장소 섭외 등에서 어려운 점이 있었다면 어떤 것들이 있었는지, 그 제작 과정에 대한 얘기를 좀 듣고 싶다고 하네요.
제가 풀샷을 굉장히 좋아하는데, 그 풀샷이 나오면서도 원룸이 좁아야 그 시나리오의 흐름에 맞아서 그 적당히 크면서 적당히 작은 원룸을 구하는 게 조금 어려웠고요. 결국에 원래는 제가 살던 원룸에서 찍으려고 했었는데 거기는 풀샷이 안 나와서 못했고, 그리고 풀샷이 많다 보니까 또 롱테이크, 또 풀샷하고 이제 롱테이크를 제가 좋아해가지고 그런 것들을 지루함을 탈피하기 위해서 어떻게 해야 될까 스태프들하고 회의를 많이 했던 것 같고, 뭐 또 그 워낙 좁은 장소다 보니까 최소 인원으로 진행을 했어야 돼가지고 PD를 맡은 친구가 조연출까지 같이 해줬거든요. 그래서 그 친구가 정말 고생이 많았던 것 같습니다.
Originally, she was thinking of filming it in her own room, which we call one room in Korea. She always prefers full shot and long take. She thought her one room was not good for the one shot. So she looked for another room, not too big, not too small, perfect for the one shot production. That was what she found. And how she recruited the crew members is because of the budget. She had to look for multitasking producer and assistant director at the same time. So she found one, and I don't know what I'm missing. I covered.
네, 네, 그 정도면 될 것 같습니다.
괜찮았어요? 그 정도면?
네,
그러니까 풀샷을
네.
하기 위해서 원룸을 자기 살던 집에 사고 싶었는데 딴 데서 너무 크지 않고 작은 걸 찾았다.
네, 네, 네.
그리고 이제 예산 문제도 있어서 멀티태스킹을 할 수 있는 PD를 찾는 과정이 조금 있었다.
네, 제가 뭐 조금 추가하자면 full shot. I need the 아닙니다. No. Okay. Okay, it's perfect.
No, it was great. It was great. And question about the ending for you, the ending of your film. Obviously, the mother asks for the paper with all the writing. So I think the ending is sort of left up to interpretation for the audience. But I am curious, as the writer and the director of this, what do you think happens? What do you think happens between the mother, her daughter, and her daughter's lover?
이거는 관객분들에게 답변을 드리고 싶은데요. 저는 그 관객분들이 생각하기에 셋이 잘 지낼 거라고 점점 더 희망적으로 생각할 수 있는 사회적 조건들이 주어졌으면 하는 바람입니다. 엔딩을 고민을 많이 했었는데 엔딩이 그 성소수자들의 현실을 보여주면서도 고통을 재현하지 않는 방식으로 조금 희망을 담아서 보여주고 싶었어서 그 선을 되게 고민을 많이 했었습니다. 그래서 그런 결말이 나오게 됐고, 그러니까 희망적으로 받아들일 수 있는 여지가 많아지는 사회가 됐으면 좋겠습니다.
So that was her message and question for the audience to think and answer, considering the situation in Korea for the situation, I have to call it, because it's very different than what it is in America. So she wanted to share two different messages. So this is exactly what it is, and embracing them, kind of showing them a hope, so the whole society can embrace the minorities like these people. So those were two different messages she wanted to share with the audience. So she left it as an open question.
Oh, I see. And I have to ask, what is life like for people of the LGBT community in Korea?
Not that good.
No.
별로 좋지 않고 그 대통령이 그 동성혼 합법화에 대한 얘기에 있어서도 대통령한테 어떤 성소수자분이 얘기했을 때 그 대통령의 지지자들이 다 같이 나중에 이렇게 외친 끔찍한 일들이 있었고 서울의 어떤 지역, 수도의 어떤 지역에서는 뭐 이제 그냥 한두 지역에서는 많이 팔짱도 끼고 다니고 하는데 아직까지는 많이 힘든 것 같아요. 뭐 주변에 있는 친구들도 많은 어려움을 갖고 있는 것 같습니다. 근데 최근에 어떤 여자분이 되게 공식적으로 다른 여자분하고 결혼을 하셔가지고 그거를 막 일부러 웨딩을 크게 하셔가지고 그거에 대한 책도 쓰시고 이번에 그분이 한국 퀴어 영화제에서 사회도 보시고 좀 그런 일들도 있었습니다.
So first of all, it is very different, she said, very different. And even when the current president promised to do something, to legalize something accordingly, his supporters finally said, no, some other time, next time. So everybody said, no. And they got really, really disappointed by the reality. And only limited parts, like she can say, two limited parts, smaller parts in Seoul, you can see them arm in arm walking together, but not anywhere else.
Mm.
Recently, there was a very courageous and brave lady who got married the same-sex marriage, and then she hosted a very, very big weddings event to attract all this attention from the whole society. And then she wrote a book on that, and she also hosted an event, and she moderated herself there. So she talked about that. The purpose of her courage was because even the president is not very willing to support LGBT community. So she wanted to do that kind of a role, function in a way. So
Excellent. Wow.
셀레브리티 중에서는 뭐 커밍아웃 한 사람이 게이 한 명, 트랜스젠더 한 명 이 정도라고만 전해주세요.
So among celebrities, there are only two who declared that he's gay and transgender. Only two are out of those celebrities in Korea.
Wow. So there's definitely a long way to go.
아직 갈 길이 먼 거죠?
네.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a long way to go.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, I'm sure since this is out in the world right now, I'm sure you've gotten some feedback either from viewers or from friends. And I'm curious, like, do gay or bisexual men feel this is an accurate depiction of the dating world today?
I mean, the ones that I've talked to, yes. I haven't had anyone specifically reach out with negative feedback, so I'm curious if they're out there. I would love to hear it. But the comments have been, like you said, too real, very accurate. I had a friends who I'm friends with a couple, and one of them said to me that he thought I ended it too sad, and the other one said no, it was perfect. And so it's been a great response, and hopefully doing things like this will get even let even more people see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think regardless of sexuality, it's these stories are it's a condition that young people know very well, and that it's about how the world's how we meet people.
먼저 하실까요? 네.
Yeah.
그러니까 시청자나 또 젊은 제작자들을 위해서 어떤 어드바이스를 해드리고 싶은 게 있다면 어떤 게 있을까요?
뭐 제가 어떤 조언을 해야 될지 모르겠지만 예산이 적다면 먼저 공간을 설정하고 이야기를 써보는 것도 한 가지 방법일 것 같고요. 네, 뭐 그렇습니다. 그리고 그냥 단편 영화들을 많이 보시면은 또 아이디어가 단편 영화는 굉장히 특히 한국의 단편 영화는 예산이 거의 많이 주어지는 경우가 없어서 저예산으로 아이디어로 승부를 보는 경우가 많아서 그런 좀 머리 브레인스토밍 하는데 좀 도움이 되지 않을까 싶습니다.
So she said because it's low budget movies about. So the first thing very important is to figure out the location and the place where the film is going to be made. And then watch a lot of short films because most of them are low budget films. So the best thing is to figure out, bring up different ideas, new ideas, not away from the money itself. So watch lots of short films that will help them, young producers, to create more ideas based on their own viewing of different movies.
Excellent. And what about you, John?
Yeah, I think it sort of, the professional and the personal kind of intermingles, and particularly for someone young or just starting out, take advantage of that, what resources you have with the support of your friend group or your college or your hometown or whatever you can do, because getting these things made is very expensive, and when you're new, people are more forgiving. But by extension of that, just what I've found, coming into this stage of my career is really what makes the difference is surrounding yourself with people who support you, and who believe in you and sort of lift you up. And that doesn't necessarily mean people who say yes all the time, but people who get what you're doing and want to see you succeed. And that will really, whether it's a writer's group or if it's who you're working for, or those friends that you're calling on to get stuff made for cheap, really nurture and value your relationships.
And both of you professionally, what are your backgrounds? Like, do you work in the industries, or is this something you do independently?
No, yeah, I studied film at Emerson College in Boston. I've been working in LA for about 6 years and I thought I would be doing like independent, feature stuff, but I actually ended up in TV, where I worked on Mad Men and the Romanoffs, Matthew Weiner's follow-up show. And currently I'm writing for a Disney Plus show that will come out in the future that I'm not really allowed to talk about.
Of course. And what about you, Shin?
종사하시는 분야가 이쪽 분야신지 아니면 다른 분야가 있으신지요?
저는 영화 계속 만들고 있고요. 영화 스텝 일도 하고 지금은 장편 쓰고 있고 뮤지션이기도 해서 영화 엔딩곡도 제가 만들었었고 문리버가 저작권이 안 된다 그래서 원래 문리버 하고 싶었는데 그래서 공연도 하고 그러고 있습니다. 근데 코비드 때문에 공연을 못 하지만
She's in the movie business herself, also at the same time as a staff. And she writes herself and she does her music as a musician. So with Moon River, she knew that it's not bound with copyright. So she did something on Moon River. So she does everything pretty much that has to do with the movie industry.
That was a question I actually had about the copyright information, because I think is it Henry Mancini or? Henry Mancini is the composer of it. It is such a beautiful song, and it's very popular. Not, it's not super modern, but it's a classic song, I think, in this country and maybe even internationally. And it's so synonymous with that movie. Anyone who's seen the movie knows the song. And I loved how you integrated that into the story.
헨리 맨시니가 작곡한 곡이 맞죠?
네.
그래서 어떻게 보면 클래식 정도로 좀 옛날 곡이기도 하지만 모든 사람들 잘 알고 있고 선택을 잘 하셔서 하신 것 같다고 자기도
Thank you.
Sure. Couple more questions. We can start with John. John, what do you hope people take from your series? What is the takeaway?
I hope they enjoy it. I hope that it is funny, and again, not too uncomfortable, just uncomfortable enough to, let them know that there's. One of the reasons I want to create, I write and I create, and one of the reasons I appreciate TV and movies is that it lets you know that you're not alone. It lets you know that there's someone else out there who sees the world and experiences the world the way that you do. And so, with anything I do, but particularly with Grounded, it's just sort of me, creating what I want to see, and hopefully it connects, with someone out there.
I think it's going to connect with a lot of people.
Thanks.
And Shin, what about you? What do you hope people take from this story?
이 영화를 보신 관객들이 어떤 느낌과 어떤 소감을 가지고 떠나기를 희망하시는지요?
어, 한국, 특히 한국 언어에서 진짜 한국 언어가 다 이성의 중심이어서 그런 진짜 어떻게 불러야 될지 모르는 관계들이 되게 많은데 한국 언어의 그런 부족함을 아, 그렇구나. 언어에서 소외받는 사람들도 있겠구나 하는 거를 느껴주셨으면 좋겠고 네, 그렇습니다. 그래서 좀 언어가 바뀌어야겠다는 생각을 많이들 가져주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
그러니까 언어라고 하는 게 어떤 호칭 말씀하세요?
네, 네, 호칭, 네, 네.
그러면 장모님과 뭐 젊은 세대하고 이 호칭 아니면 특별히 지금 영화 속에서 있는 호칭 아니면
네,
일반
영화 속에서
사회적으로
있는 네, 장모님으로도 시어머니로도 불릴 수 없는 관계들이 있잖아요. 뭔가 그런 사람들을 소외시키는 그런 호칭 체계에 대해서 한번 생각을 해봐 주셨으면 좋겠어요.
okay. In Korea, how we address, how we call different people is very important. Like mother-in-law, how we call them, or cousins, that's very important. But under specific circumstances like this, it's very awkward and difficult for them to call them appropriately, legitimately like that. So they are like kind of excluded, not allowed to call them properly. So that's what she wanted to show and share with the audience. Oh, these people are experiencing something like this. You know, they want to call them just like how people call each other in Korea, but they are not allowed. They are not confident about that. So she wanted the audience to know that.
Wow. Wow. I would have never thought about that, but that is really true and probably very painful for a lot of people. Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much. I want to ask one final question, and that would be, what's next for this project? And do you have any new projects in the works? And where can people follow you and your journey? We can start with John.
Sure. Well, Grounded is available on Deku and Out TV, depending where you are. Definitely check that out. It premiered in February, and we said we'll wait and see, how it does and how that could, lead to a season 2. And then, of course, in March, everything shut down. And so, I know some shows are going back into production, but I personally don't want to produce until, COVID stuff is a little more clear. So waiting to see about a season 2. I have a short film script that is also, LGBT themed that is doing well in some festivals that I would love to be able to produce next year. But at the moment, I'm focusing on writing some new TV pilots and looking to get my next job. And I said Out TV, I said Deku. Oh, and I'm on Twitter at Bitterstaff, which is probably easier to link than to spell. But you can find me there and follow along there.
Okay, so Out TV, Deku, and Twitter for your personal account.
Yeah, and there's a Grounded _series is the official account, the Twitter account for the show if you want to watch out for news there.
Well, perfect. And what about you, Shin? What's next for you?
두 가지 물으셨는데요. 다음번 프로젝트 진행 중인 게 있는지 물어보셨고요. 두 번째는 SNS에서 팔로우하고 싶으면 어떻게 해서 팔로우할 수 있는지 주소가 있으신지 물어보셨어요.
우선 이거 다음에 찍었던 작년에 찍은 프론트맨이라는 단편 영화를 지금 대급하고 있고요. 그 다음에 지금 장편을 쓰고 있는데 이것도 퀴어에 관한 얘기여서 이스트빌리지 퀴어 필름 페스티벌에 나중에 꼭 틀 수 있었으면 좋겠고 SNS는 뭐 트위터도 하고 인스타그램도 하는데 검색하시려면 한국말로 치셔야 돼서 네, 한국말로 네. 아이디는 영어로 하면은 리트리버인데요. 맨 뒤에 R이 3개입니다. 리트리버, 네, 골든 리트리버 할 때 리트리버, 네.
R이 3개요.
네, 맨 뒤에 R이 3개입니다.
그리고 그 다음에는요?
끝입니다, 그게.
이걸 치면 이제 신 감독님이 나오는 거예요.
아, 네, 맞습니다.
아, last,
트위터나 인스타그램에, 네.
last year she completed a movie titled Frontman, and it's in distribution now. And the next project she's writing it's a long film. It's also going to be presented at the Queer Film Festival, so you will get to know about that. And to follow her on Twitter and Instagram, you can type in either in Korean her name, Shin Seung Eun, or Retriever with triple R at the end.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you all, actually. That wraps up tonight's Q&A. Thank you again to the filmmakers and to our amazing translator tonight. Thank you all for watching, and you can catch the rest of the festival, which continues through Sunday, October 11th, by visiting our website at thewildproject.org. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. 수고 많으셨네요.